Well, welcome back to part 2 of this clear cut project. Actually today we're going to be continuing planting these trees. As you can see behind me, I've actually already started the first row of chestnut oaks with the tree tubes, and I just kind of want to give you a walkthrough of what I'm doing here as far as spacing. Originally I thought I was probably going to do about 15 feet maybe between trees, but I actually got out the tape measure and the string and the posts and realized that 15 feet is probably not far enough apart, so I went ahead and stretched it out to 20 feet between each tree. And I'm going to go ahead and make a second row here that's 15 feet across from the first row, and then I'm going to basically space them in between the two trees evenly so that the canopies can actually get a little bit bigger and have adequate room in between each tree. So I'm just going to kind of walk you through what I'm doing here real quick with a second row, just to kind of show you how to go about making your spacing in between your tree rows. So I'll just go ahead and show you kind of exactly what I'm doing. So I've got my first post here that's exactly 10 feet in between the first posts on the left and right that are 20 feet apart, and I've got my string lined up, centered. It's about as evenly spaced as you can get, just eyeing it. And so basically I just started going down here to the first spot, and as you can see I started marking 20 feet. So each spot should actually line up in between the rows. And I got my tape measure down here, and I'm just going to kind of show you how I went about doing this originally, just kind of in my head. So I've got one spot there, that's the starting point in between the two posts, and then basically I just put out the tape measure at 20 feet, and then I'll just go ahead and spray a spot where I like it, make sure that it lines up in between the two posts so that these are adequately spaced. So just look at my tape measure here, got 20 feet right there. So I'm just going to put a spot right under the line and just continue on until I get to the end here, and then start a new row, and then do the exact opposite. It'll be the same as the first row that I initially put up, and then just kind of put it all the way through here until I run out of trees or run out of tree tubes. The way I have it kind of lined out, I think it's going to be about 36 trees in here. So we'll see how it pans out towards the end of the day. But I have 50 tree tubes, so I think the rest of them I'll probably put up around the food plot. I've got probably some more chestnuts, and I've got some northern red oaks that I'm going to put out along the food plot edge, tree line edge, and then should take me up to the end of at least my oak plantings for the season. Still got a little bit of trash to clean up around the edges of this, and put up a tree stand. I'm probably going to put up a lock-on tree stand up in this red oak, maybe even two stands up there so that I can actually film in this section once I get it planted in clover and chicory. Early fall I think will be a good spot, at least for the next 3 or 4 years until the oaks get a little bit bigger and put up a canopy and kind of shade this out. But even then I still think for at least the next probably 10 years I can at least have a small food plot in here that I can hunt off of. So I'll go ahead and continue doing some more rows, and then after I get it kind of closer to the finish line, I'll turn the video back on and we'll show you what it looks like. So I'm just going to walk you through real quick planting one of these chestnuts. So as you can see, I've got them planted in just a little styrofoam cup. I would probably recommend actually planting them in a deeper cup because they have a long tap root. Especially if you're going to be keeping them in, a small pot for any period of time. These just happened to sprout, as soon as I picked them off the ground last fall. So I had really no choice but to get them planted as soon as possible because the white oaks will actually germinate and sprout in the fall, as opposed to your red oaks, which need a period of stratification. So, you know, if you have some white oaks you pick up, some acorns, and they start to sprout, you know, you're gonna have to get them potted as soon as possible. But I'm hoping that these don't get stunted. As you can see, the taproot appears to be okay. So I'm just basically gonna plant it in the hole, and then cover it up with dirt, and then just basically show you how to put the tree tubes around it. It's a pretty simple process. So once you got your tree in the hole and covered up, you basically want to get your tree tube, which these tree tubes I got from Tree Pro in West Lafayette, Indiana, and they come with you know, 2 zip ties in each one of them. And these are reusable zip ties, which is a good thing, because if you ever have to, you know, lift up on your tubes to check to make sure they're you know, growing, not dead, or replace them, whatever the case may be, you can actually, you know, reuse these zip ties. So that's definitely a benefit. So basically, I'm just going to take, you know, my leaves and put them in the tube, point it up so that they can actually grow up with the tube. You can kind of play around with these tubes and make sure they're, you know, fully open. Sometimes they get a little smashed in the bag, but once you're done with that, take your stake, put it through both zip ties, go ahead and give it an initial push into the ground, and then take either a mini sledgehammer, or in this case I'm just using the back end of an axe. Make sure your stake's pointed up straight. You want your tree to grow straight, so this ground's really hard right here. Put your zip ties on. And that's all there is to that. So that's how I'm doing each one of these trees. Got 36 to do in this plot. So I'm gonna get them done here today. One other thing I would recommend doing, you know, when you get your trees planted, actually, you know, make sure you give them a good water, because right now it is springtime. It's April, early April, but it's not supposed to rain for the next 2 or 3 days. So the ground's actually starting to dry out a little bit. So I'm just going to go ahead and make sure I water these really well, each one that I plant, to ensure that each one of them has a good start. And hopefully, once I get all these planted, you know, give them a good watering, just kind of get them going for their first, you know, time in new ground. I also like to use the potting soil when I'm planting each one of them, just so that they're used to the soil that's around them. It definitely helps them initially get started, because it has a lot of nutrients and minerals in the potting soil that you want to make sure are still in the hole when you actually plant those trees. One other thing I wanted to mention about these tree tubes is actually they come in a pack of it's like 5 each individually in different sizes. So when you actually pull them out of the bag, they've got different sizes of these tree tubes. So I've just been kind of using the bigger saplings, you know, for these wider tubes. And then obviously the smaller ones is safe for some of these smaller size tubes, but that just kind of saves on the amount of packing you have to do, because as you can see, this bag right here, there's 50 in there. So I actually kind of like that. It just saves on room when if you actually get these shipped to your house. It's gonna have to come in, you know, a really large bag if they were just all individually wrapped. So I actually went and drove up and got these because I'm only a couple hours from Tree Pro in Lafayette, and so far I'm actually really liking these. They actually have perforated holes in the tops of the tube, so when you're putting these on, you want to make sure these holes are actually up so that there's airflow inside each one of these tubes. Kind of give the tree some air movement within inside the tube when it's growing. So at the end of the day, I think you know, if I was going to go buy some more of these, they're a pretty good deal from Tree Pro. I think they were only about $3 a piece. So I also got 50 stakes, and all together I think it was 172 for the tubes and another 100 for the stakes. So 272 for 50. So a pretty good deal compared to what I've seen on Amazon. I'd actually recommend this company. For these, they actually seem pretty similar to the ones on Amazon, but a whole lot cheaper at the end of the day. Coming to the end of the first day. Got several rows planted, getting ready to finish up the last row, and finally wrap this project up. So I'll take a quick video at the end, but altogether it came together pretty quick. Really putting all these tree tubes up, can't really complain. It's pretty easy once you get your saplings lined up and your rows lined up. So we got her done pretty quick today. Well, finishing up this project into the day one. I've planted 25 so far, and we got this oak grove planted, and just gonna take the rest of the tubes. I got 25 more, and just gonna plant them around the food plot. But finally finished it up here. It took from February to the first part of April to do this, but glad to get it over with. Thanks for watching.